One of my bulls went down hard in the pasture, blood staining the grass beneath him. Before I could even catch my breath, a second gunshot cracked from the far edge of the field. I bolted forward, heart hammering, only to find strangers in camouflage stalking my herd of prized heritage Highland cattle, protected under federal law. And standing beside them, that same cold smile on her face, was Pamela Chadwick. They thought I'd stay quiet. They were wrong. This is my land. These are the bloodlines my family has raised for 6 generations, and this is going to be a lawsuit they never saw coming. It began like any other Tuesday morning in rural Wyoming. I'm Luke McAllister, 30 years old, running the 39 Highland cattle my great-great-grandfather imported in 1891. Dad used to say they were worth more than gold. Not for money, but for legacy. Protect them, he told me just before the farming accident took his life 15 years ago. When Pamela moved in 6 months ago to the Crestmont Valley subdivision, just over 3 miles downhill, she installed herself as de facto HOA president after the real president died under mysterious circumstances. Sharp hair, tailored suits, and a smile that froze rivers in January. I had no idea how dangerous she'd become. My border collie Scout barked as I approached the fallen bull by the pond. The other cattle stampeded in distress. I shouted, "What are you doing on my property?" One hunter waved. But Pamela, in a pristine ivory blazer, stiletto heels somehow unharmed by the muck, stepped forward. "Mr. McAllister," she purred, brandishing a thick manila folder, "I have state authorization right here." She handed me pages stamped with government seals. My entire herd had tested positive for a bovine illness so rare it sounded made up. "Authorized for humane disposal to prevent contamination," she announced. My hands shook as I scanned it. These cattle passed inspection just 2 months ago. Yet the hunters resumed their grim work. Scout lunged, barking, but even he couldn't stop them. Then my old friend, Dr. Javier Morales, raced onto the scene in his vet truck. He knelt beside the bull and declared, "No signs of disease. Healthy coat, clear eyes, solid muscle tone." Pamela's composure cracked. "These are official documents," she hissed, "signed by the State Livestock Board." Dr. Morales stood, eyes blazing. "They've been forged." As the hunters froze, Pamela produced another courier envelope. "Additionally, a court order has seized your property pending legal review for land grant irregularities dating back to 1891. Her mask slipped for a heartbeat, guilt in her eyes, before she smoothed her smile and strode off. My family legacy was under siege on 2 fronts, and I had only 48 hours to fight back. That evening, I retreated to my kitchen, racked with anger and disbelief. I'd spent winters poring over agricultural law. Now it was time to use it. While Pamela celebrated her victory, I made my first calls. I phoned my insurer under the guise of updating livestock coverage and discovered 3 other ranches hit by the same outbreak in the past 4 months, each forced to sell at a loss. I smelled a pattern. At Molly's Tavern, I found 2 of those displaced ranchers, Tom Harrison and Gary Bowen. Over bittersweet beer, they confirmed Pamela's routine health survey 6 weeks before each seizure. Armed with that lead, I researched public records. The state inspector who signed my cattle's death warrant, Dr. Oliver Hansen, had been suspended 2 months earlier for falsifying reports. And the judge who signed the land grab order had never verified the deed. The evidence piled up. Pamela's operation was no accident. It was a calculated extortion scheme designed to clear prime land for a luxury resort. That night, Sheriff Dana Brooks, a lifelong family friend, called. "Luke, I've been watching. What you've unearthed, it's bigger than we thought. Meet me at the old grain elevator at dawn." When we met under its rusted beams, she handed me her own damning evidence. Audio recordings of Pamela admitting she coordinated with private contractors to intimidate ranchers, plus photos of cash exchanges with county clerks. She warned, "You're up against a network that reaches into state offices. But if we expose this, it stops now, or more families will lose everything." For the first time since Pamela's shock assault on my ranch, I felt hope. We had 48 hours before the next forced eviction. It was time to strike. Dawn broke over the ranch as I wired Sheriff Brooks's recordings and subpoenas to FBI agent Sarah Fields in Denver, the same agent probing Pamela's ex-husband's development company for environmental crimes. Meanwhile, I set the bait. I accepted a courtesy inspection scheduled by Pamela's hand-picked team at noon Friday. I invited Scout to join me on camera, live streaming on social media to rally public support. Pamela arrived in her Mercedes, flanked by two contractors in polo shirts and HOA security badges. They fanned out across my lawn as I greeted them politely. "Good afternoon. I assume you've seen the state of my cattle?" She smirked. "We're here to finalize disease containment." As the inspectors unloaded syringes and testing kits, Dr. Morales appeared, slapped his vet credentials on their table, and challenged their protocol. "These are malicious injections, not diagnostics." At that moment, sheriff deputies and two uniformed FBI agents stepped from the trees, badges out. Pamela Chadwick, their lead agent, announced, "You're under arrest for conspiracy, mail-in wire fraud, extortion, and RICO violations." Pamela's eyes went wide, her empire collapsing in a single stroke. The contractors dropped their clipboards and scattered. The courtroom in Cheyenne was packed. Local ranchers, former victims, and journalists filled every seat. Pamela sat at the defendant's table in a plain orange jumpsuit, her once flawless hair now limp and unstyled. U.S. Attorney Richard Myers laid out the evidence: forged inspectors' reports, illicit cash for seizure deals, fake HOA police arrests, and multiple wrongful property condemnations across 3 counties. Each count carried years behind bars. Judge Elaine Carter, sister of a Wyoming cattle rancher, delivered the verdict: 12 years for Pamela, 8 years for Dr. Hansen, and dismantling of the Crestmont Valley HOA extortion ring. Sterling Development Corporation was fined $25 million and ordered to compensate every defrauded landowner. As Pamela was led away in cuffs, I stepped onto the courthouse steps. The crowd erupted in applause. Sheriff Brooks shook my hand, eyes misty. Agent Fields gave a nod of respect. Back home, the Highland herd grazed peacefully once more. New calves peered from the tall grass while Scout ran in joyful loops. I stood by the fence thinking of Dad's final words: "Promise me you'll protect them." I had, guarded my family's legacy, upheld the law, and brought justice to those who tried to steal it.